If you're on the age pension, what happens in the next 24 hours could change your financial situation for the next 6 months. Welcome to Senior Benefits Guide. Today we're covering 4 critical pension changes taking effect tomorrow that every Centrelink recipient needs to know about. Before we dive in, please subscribe to stay updated on all the latest changes to Australian senior benefits, because missing even one of these updates could cost you real money. Centrelink is implementing significant adjustments tomorrow, and while some changes will put extra dollars in your account, others might reduce your payment if you're not aware of how they work. We're going to break down exactly what's changing, who it affects, and most importantly, what action you need to take today to protect your entitlements. These updates happen like clockwork twice a year, but each time they roll around, thousands of pensioners either miss opportunities to increase their payments or accidentally trigger reductions because they didn't understand the rules. Don't be one of those people. Stay with me through this video, because by the end, you'll know exactly what to do. Let's start with the payment rate indexation, which is the adjustment most pensioners will notice first. The age pension gets indexed twice yearly, and tomorrow marks one of those adjustment dates. This indexation is tied to cost of living increases, specifically the Consumer Price Index and a separate measure that tracks expenses specific to pensioners. The maximum fortnightly payment for a single person on the full age pension is increasing to around $1,144.40, and for a couple combined, you're looking at approximately $1,725.80. If you're receiving a part pension, your payment increases as well, though the exact amount depends on your individual circumstances under the income and assets tests. What you need to do is simple but important. Tomorrow, log into your MyGov account, link to Centrelink, and verify that your payment reflects this increase. Automatic systems usually handle this smoothly, but technical glitches can occur. I've heard from viewers who discovered their payments weren't updated correctly, and they missed weeks of the increased amount simply because they didn't check. If your payment doesn't show the increase, contact Centrelink immediately, because delays in reporting errors can mean delays in receiving back payments you're owed. When you call, be prepared for wait times. Have your customer reference number ready, which you can find in your MyGov account or on any Centrelink letter. Document the date and time you called, and if possible, get the name or reference number of the person you speak with. This documentation becomes crucial if you need to follow up later. Remember, the indexation applies automatically to everyone on the age pension, so there's no need to apply or submit forms. But verification is essential because computer systems, while generally reliable, can have errors, especially when processing millions of payments simultaneously. Now let's talk about income thresholds, because this is where many pensioners unknowingly lose benefits. The income test determines how much pension you receive based on your earnings from work, investments, or other sources. Tomorrow, the income-free area, which is the amount you can earn without affecting your pension, is adjusting upward. Singles can now earn approximately $212 per fortnight before their pension reduces, and couples combined can earn around $372. Beyond this threshold, your pension reduces by 50 cents for every dollar earned. Here's a practical example. Let's say you're a single pensioner doing some casual work earning $300 a fortnight. Under the new threshold, your pension would reduce by $44 because you've earned $88 over the income-free area. That $88 times 50% equals $44 in pension reduction. If you've recently picked up extra shifts, started receiving more dividends from shares, or increased your rental income, you must report this to Centrelink. Unreported income can lead to debt notices where Centrelink demands repayment of overpaid pension, sometimes going back months or even years. I want to stress how serious unreported income can be. Centrelink has sophisticated data matching systems that cross-reference information from the Australian Taxation Office, banks, and employers. They will eventually catch unreported income, and when they do, you'll face a debt that needs to be repaid, often through reduced pension payments over many months. In some cases, penalties can apply if Centrelink believes you deliberately failed to report. The stress and financial hardship this causes is completely avoidable if you simply report your income correctly from the start. Use the online estimator tools in your MyGov account to see how your specific income situation interacts with tomorrow's new thresholds. Input your fortnightly earnings from all sources, including employment, rental properties, interest from bank accounts, dividends from shares, and any other income streams. The calculator will show you exactly how much pension you should receive. If the calculated amount differs significantly from what you're currently getting, that's a red flag that something needs attention. It's also worth understanding what counts as income in Centrelink's eyes. Obviously, wages from a job count. But so does income from rental properties after you deduct allowable expenses like property management fees, council rates, and maintenance costs. Interest earned on savings accounts and term deposits counts, though it's assessed through deeming rates, which we'll discuss shortly. Dividends from shares, distributions from managed funds, and income from business activities all count. Even some compensation payments or foreign pensions can be assessable. If you're ever unsure whether something counts as income, the safest approach is to report it and let Centrelink make the determination. It's much better to over-report and have them tell you it doesn't count than to under-report and face a debt later. Moving on to asset test changes. And this is critically important if you own property other than your home, have substantial savings, or recently received a significant financial windfall. The asset test calculates your pension based on the total value of everything you own, minus your primary residence. From tomorrow, the asset-free thresholds are increasing. A single homeowner can now have assets worth up to approximately $314,000 before their pension is affected, and couples can have around $470,000 combined. For non-homeowners, these figures are considerably higher because the government recognizes you don't have a property asset. The upper cutoff limit, where you become ineligible for any pension, is also moving up. Singles who own their home lose pension eligibility at around $694,000 in assets, while homeowner couples lose it at approximately $1,044,000. Why does this matter right now? Because if your asset position has changed recently, tomorrow's new thresholds could shift you into or out of pension eligibility. Perhaps you've sold an investment property, downsized your home and banked the profit, or inherited money from a deceased estate. All of these affect your asset position. Your superannuation, if you're over pension age, is counted as an asset. Your car, caravan, boat, and even valuable jewelry or artwork are assessed. Let me give you some clarity on what gets counted, because this confuses many people. Your primary residence, the home you live in, is completely exempt no matter what it's worth. You could own a $5 million house in Sydney, and it wouldn't affect your pension at all. But almost everything else counts. The contents of your home, your furniture, and household items are generally exempt up to $10,000, but anything beyond that in terms of valuable items gets assessed. If you have a classic car collection worth $50,000, that's an asset. Expensive jewelry, rare coins, valuable artwork, all of these count. Your second car, if you own more than one vehicle, is assessed at market value. Caravans and boats are assessed. Any investment properties you own are counted at their current market value minus any outstanding loans. If you own a rental property worth $600,000 with a $200,000 mortgage against it, Centrelink counts $400,000 as an assessable asset. Your bank accounts, term deposits, shares, managed funds, and superannuation all count. Some pensioners are shocked when they find out money they've lent to children is also counted as an asset. If you lent your son $30,000 to help with a business venture, that's a financial asset to Centrelink, even if you never expect to be repaid. If you're sitting close to any of these thresholds, even a small market movement in your share portfolio or super balance could tip you over. This is the time to review your asset statement and consider whether restructuring, such as prepaying expenses or gifting within allowable limits, might help you maintain or increase your pension entitlement. The gifting rules allow you to give away up to $10,000 in any financial year, or $30,000 over a rolling 5-year period, without affecting your pension. Anything beyond these limits is treated as a deprived asset, meaning Centrelink continues to count it as yours for 5 years even though you no longer own it. Some families use gifting strategically to help children while also managing their own pension position, but you need to understand the limits. Prepaying expenses is another strategy worth considering if you're just over the asset threshold. You can prepay up to 12 months of costs, like insurance premiums, rates, or other regular expenses, which reduces your cash assets immediately. Making home improvements or necessary purchases, like replacing appliances or a car, can also reduce assessable assets, but these need to be genuine expenses for your own use, not artificial attempts to hide money. The fourth change relates to deeming rates and how your financial assets are treated for income test purposes. Deeming is a set of rules where Centrelink assumes your financial investments earn a certain rate of return, regardless of what they actually earn. Currently, amounts up to $60,400 for singles and $100,200 for couples are deemed to earn 0.25%, and amounts above that are deemed at 2.25%. While these specific rates may not be changing tomorrow, the interaction between deeming and the new income thresholds will affect your overall outcome. Here's why this matters. If you have $150,000 in a term deposit actually earning 4.5% interest, Centrelink doesn't assess the real interest. They apply the deeming rate, which in many cases is lower than actual returns. However, if you have money sitting in accounts earning very little, you're still deemed to earn the set rate, which could hurt your pension for no actual benefit. Many pensioners don't optimize their money placement because they don't understand how deeming interacts with both the income test and asset test. For instance, having money in super versus outside super can produce different pension outcomes, even though both are accessible. Financial assets under deeming include bank accounts, term deposits, shares, managed funds, and even money you've lent to family members. Let me illustrate with a detailed example. Suppose you're a couple with $200,000 in financial assets. Under deeming rules, the first $100,200 is deemed to earn 0.25% annually, which equals $250.50 per year. The remaining $99,800 is deemed to earn 2.25%, which equals $2,245.50 per year. Your total deemed income is $2,496 per year, or about $96 per fortnight. This deemed income is then assessed under the income test, alongside any other income you have. If your actual interest earnings were higher, say 5% on the full $200,000, which would be $10,000 per year or $384 per fortnight, you're actually better off underdeeming because you're assessed on much less income. But if your money is earning low returns, perhaps just 1% or $2,000 per year, you're still deemed to earn $2,496, which means you're being assessed on income you're not actually receiving. The key action here is to review where your money sits and whether the structure makes sense under tomorrow's updated framework. Sometimes keeping money in offset accounts against investment property loans or consolidating accounts can produce better pension results. Here's your action checklist for today and tomorrow. Number 1. Log into MyGov first thing tomorrow and check your payment summary to confirm the indexation has been applied. Number 2. If you have unreported income or asset changes from the past few months, report them now through your online account or by calling Centrelink. Waiting only makes potential debt situations worse. Number 3. If your asset or income levels are anywhere near the threshold limits we've discussed, book an appointment with the Financial Information Service, which is a free independent service through Centrelink that provides guidance without selling products. Number 4. Gather your financial documents including super statements, bank account balances, investment portfolios, and property valuations, so you have an accurate picture of where you stand under the new rules. And number 5. If you're planning any major financial moves like selling assets, accessing super, or large purchases, understand how these will affect your pension before you proceed. A decision that seems financially smart in isolation could accidentally push you off pension eligibility or trigger unwanted reductions. One often overlooked aspect of these changes is the compounding effect over time. A pension reduction of even $50 per fortnight equals $1,300 per year. Over a 5-year period, that's $6,500 in lost income. Conversely, if you're currently not claiming pension because you thought you were over the limits, tomorrow's threshold increases might make you newly eligible for a part pension, which also brings access to the pensioner concession card. This card alone provides savings on medications, medical appointments, utilities, and public transport that can be worth thousands annually. So the stakes here aren't trivial. Getting your position right under tomorrow's new rules can have substantial long-term financial implications for your retirement lifestyle. If you found this breakdown helpful, please subscribe to Senior Benefits Guide so you never miss updates on changes affecting Australian seniors. Hit that like button and share this video with friends or family who receive Centrelink payments because these changes affect millions of pensioners and not everyone will hear about them in time. Drop any questions in the comment section and we'll try to help point you toward the right resources. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time with more essential information for Australian seniors.